Hey everybody, Chris the Old Ass Retro Gamer here, and welcome to another episode of Top 3 Tuesday. And today's topic, favorite franchises. Jason of Corpse Flood Gaming chose today's topic, and he wanted us to talk about our favorite franchises in the world of video games that we enjoy the most. Plenty to choose from, obviously. How many video games have sequels, especially nowadays? A lot. So this was not an easy choice, but I managed to pick 3 of my all-time favorites, so here we go. Panzer Dragoon. So there are 4 games in the Panzer Dragoon series. The original, Panzer Dragoon 2's Y, and Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Sega Saturn, as well as Panzer Dragoon Orta for the Xbox. I think there might be a Game Gear game in there somewhere. And there's a remake of the original coming out for the Switch. So what is it about the Panzer Dragoon Saga that makes it one of my favorite franchises? It's different. The art design and the music. At its heart, the first 2 games and Orta are just on-rails shooters, kind of like Star Fox. But you are able to spin the view around your dragon 360 degrees in order to take out enemies from all sides, which I thought was a novel approach. When it came to Panzer Dragoon Saga, that approach was moved over to an RPG. And if you've seen my top 10 video games of all time video that I did a few years back, you know that that game is pretty high on my list. The environments are very cool and creative, as are all of the designs of the creatures, especially the dragons that you're flying around on. The music is very strange and kind of has like an Arabic feel to it, but is really catchy and well composed and very listenable outside of the video games. And the gameplay itself is just flat out fun, even in an RPG setting. And each game got better as far as I'm concerned, especially when it comes to 1, 2, and Orta, because Orta is the formula that was created for Part 1 taken to its logical evolution. Just a well-made series of games. So much so that I still talk about it to this day, like I am right now. I have been a fan of Castlevania ever since I played the original game back in the day for the NES. It has stood the test of time because there are still games in this series coming out, at least ones that are sort of based on it. Bloodstained, what began as a simple side-scrolling action game, has evolved into Metroid-type games, and that genre itself has spawned a term of its own, Metroidvania, obviously a cross between Metroid and Castlevania, and has evolved into 3D action games that have RPG elements built into it. And games in this series are still highly requested by fans, which is why Bloodstained became a thing, because people were still clamoring for games in the series. And since Konami has been putting off releasing new games in this series, someone else, namely the dude who created Symphony of the Night for the PS1 back in the day, took it upon himself to bring that to the fans, and it has become extremely successful, including a stupid little spin-off game that they decided to make as a Kickstarter stretch goal, Curse of the Moon, which is a love letter to Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, like none other. As a fan of horror, I appreciate the classic universal monster motif that these games have going on, at least the original few games, and each one has changed up the formula enough to make it different and fun to help it endure all these years. I guess there was kind of a blip with the second Castlevania game for the NES. A lot of people either really love it or really hate it. I really like it, even though it's cryptic as all hell, but I still found it extremely fun. And then there's always Symphony of the Night, which came out for the PS1. Holy crap, is that game fantastic. Adding these light RPG elements into the gameplay just made it so much fun and so replayable, you have no idea. The Castlevania games will always remain some of my favorites. I've yet to play one that I truly dislike. Castlevania 64 is meh, but I've yet to play one that I think is absolute garbage. So that's really saying something, that every single game in the franchise is something that I consider very playable. And of course, Mortal Kombat was going to be my number 1. I mean, obviously. Have you looked behind me lately? The video about the Mortal Kombat Arcade 1-Up that I purchased didn't give it away. I've been a fan of Mortal Kombat ever since the original came out in the arcades. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I was a huge Street Fighter 2 fan, but then when Mortal Kombat came along, I was like, what is this Street Fighter? What? No, that doesn't have the blood and the fatalities in it. This does. I was fascinated by it because I'm a fan of horror, I'm a film fan. Having these digitized actors in the game with like blood and gore and all this kind of stuff flying around, I thought was way more interesting than Street Fighter, which I will give it credit, did have the better fighting system. But when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, I brought this up I don't know how many times on the channel, that I decided to like ignore college in order to go and play Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcades. Which is stupid, but it's what happened. It still remains my favorite fighting game ever because everything about it is awesome. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of 3, but it's still playable. 4, But when the series was revived on the PlayStation 2 as Mortal Kombat 5 Deadly Alliance, and all the way through the current game, Mortal Kombat 11, you can just see this evolution happening, that with each progressive game, the gameplay was being tightened, the character roster was being worked out to a point where everyone was balanced in a specific way. Bad ideas were taken out, new ideas were put in, and when it comes to Mortal Kombat 11, I think it is like the perfect Mortal Kombat package. It has everything in it that a Mortal Kombat fan wants to see, plus things they didn't know they actually needed. This fighting franchise has gone from just a simple fighting game to something that has a huge online presence and tournaments, and also to the point where people are clamoring for information about all these DLC characters that are eventually going to be put into the game. When the roster for Mortal Kombat 11 was released prematurely, people lost their minds at who was going to be in it. I mean, Spawn, hello! The fact that people are just as excited about Mortal Kombat nowadays as they were back when the game was first released really says something about the longevity of the franchise, and that there is much more to come. I am really looking forward to seeing where this franchise goes in the future and how long they can maintain the quality that it has sustained to this point. And that is why Mortal Kombat is my #1 franchise of all time. So there you have it, my top 3 video game franchises. What are your top 3 video game franchises? Let me know about it. Let Jason of Corpse Flood Gaming know about it, either in the comments or as a response video. I know both of us would absolutely love to see response videos to this topic. There's plenty of franchises out there to talk about, so everybody's list is going to be completely different, and I look forward to either reading your comments or seeing your response videos telling us about which ones you chose. Also, what are some topics you would love to see Jason and I tackle with these Top 3 Tuesday videos? Sure, we are constantly bouncing ideas off of one another, but I'm sure there's some things that we just don't think of to talk about, so that's where you come in. If you want us to talk about a specific topic, let us know in the comments either on my video or his. And don't forget to watch Jason's video on the exact same topic over on his channel. I will leave the link to that in the description below. So until next time, and the next Top 3 Tuesday video, I am Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off.